How's it going, guys? We are back working on the Z today, but this isn't going to be just any regular video. We're not going to be doing a specific goal. This is actually the first video in a series of what I'm going to call finishing the car. I have gotten to the point where I'm done, kind of figuring out what I want and building those systems up, and I actually want to finish it off now and make it look and drive really, really nice. So the goal is we're going to go ahead and pull out the engine and transmission. I hope we can get a diff in here. It's an open diff right now. I really want to put an LSD in, but we'll see how that goes. But we're going to pull out the drivetrain and just redo everything that we wanted perfectly on here. Currently I have the turbo in the stock location, and it's a tight fit down there. You can see my intercooler pipes are, this one's a pretty tight turn. They're really tightly bound down in there. And then of course, I've got massive pipes going all over here. So it's not the ideal setup that I really want. So I'm going to go ahead and redo a bunch of this. We're going to do a top mount turbo right where the AC is here. But we don't want to sacrifice AC, so we're going to go ahead and relocate it into the Z32 position. That is down kind of where the motor mount is down there. It's really hard to see. So we're going to go ahead and work on that as well, see if we can get that done. In that, we're going to have to go ahead and remake these hoses. I'm not going to do them. I'm going to take it to a shop because this is a pretty advanced stuff, and I don't have the tools for it. But hopefully we can get that done. We're going to go ahead and just pull everything out of here, and we're going to redo the entire engine bay. As you can see, it's kind of got like this layer of grime over everything, and I don't think it's dirt and oil. I actually think it's cosmoline, which is like a protective that they put over it when they ship it from Japan. But it's been baked for the last 35 years in this engine bay, and it is just not, it's not what I wanted this to look like. So we're going to go ahead and clean all this off, sand everything down. We're going to remove brackets like this that I don't need anymore. We're going to fill any holes that we can, and then we're going to repaint the whole thing so it looks really, really nice. We're going to go ahead and redo as much as we can. All the old coolant hoses, I've got some replacements for those, some silicone, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to clean up, just dingy stuff like the headlight motors, make them look a lot better. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can redo some of these with serpentine instead of V-belt, just because it's not a great setup in my opinion. At least the AC, if you can see, bending a V-belt backwards will crack your belt, and so this is not ideal. Of course, relocating it down there will help with that because we won't need to go around our intercooler pipes anymore. But again, it's just not ideal. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can do some V-belt. I believe the Z32 is a V-belt compressor, or a ribbed belt compressor, so we're going to have to transition to that anyways. So we'll see about all that. We're going to go ahead and pull all this off. I'm going to pull off the front bumper. We're going to redo the paint on pretty much the entire front half of the chassis here. And then eventually we're going to get the whole car repainted. But I think I'm going to do that professionally because it's a lot of work, and I don't know if I want to go ahead and have to do it again when I mess up, because let's be honest, I mess up quite a lot. So, hopefully you guys aren't too bored of me rambling about this, but there is no specific flow for these videos, so I'm just going to go ahead and just take you along with what I do. I'm probably not going to be super detailed about everything because it will add up quite quickly. But as always, guys, if you have questions or comments about what I did, how I did something, definitely drop a comment down below, and I will do my best to explain it either in a video or just, in that comment itself. So, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do to start off here is undo everything connecting the engine physically to the chassis. So things like these AC lines, they are stuck to the chassis, so we got to take them off. Probably going to remove the compressor at the same time. Obviously, these intercooler pipes are going to have to come off. We're going to go ahead and undo the throttle cable over there. There's a few electronic pieces, like the alternator, and then there's a few other things back here, I believe, but nothing too crazy. Most of this actually stays on the car still, so it's not too big of an issue. And if you guys remember, I went ahead and made my own wiring harness, and it has a disconnect at the firewall right there. So my plan currently is to go ahead and just disconnect it and pull the harness out with the engine. That way I don't have to deal with like fiddling around and trying to get the old or the new harness out of here, and we can just pull it all at once. And then power steering. I think that's the only other thing physically holding the car, of course, other than mounts all around. But there's really not too much. Let's go ahead and work on it. I'm going to go ahead and just start pulling stuff off. I'm going to make a parts pile somewhere, and we'll just start, taking everything out that we don't want on here anymore, and hopefully we'll be left with a nice, easy engine pull that won't be too difficult. So, I'm going to go ahead and start working all that stuff. I'll take you guys along, and we'll see how it goes. Alright guys, we have got a decent amount of work done. Here's all the parts that I've removed. It's a bunch of intercooler piping, and then AC right here. If you guys are curious, the AC bracket is held on by 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. The AC compressor goes right up here. You undo these bottom 2 and then just loosen the top 2, and then it'll come right out. This is the alternator mount if you have an NA car, or an early, like an 84 through 86 NA car. Otherwise, I don't think that'll be there. I also got the catch can system out, so this side is pretty good. You can see we've got plenty of room for activities in here now. So the only thing that I have left on this side is technically the exhaust and the O2 sensor, but we'll go ahead and leave those for now. I'm going to go ahead and jack the car up and get it kind of in a certain place later. Other than that, I went ahead and took off 2 belts, the power steering and the AC, of course, the main bracket for the AC. And then on this side, I think we have fuel and then power steering and then a little bit of electronics for like starter. And we should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to go ahead and jack up the car now so I can go ahead and get in front of all this here. Just underneath is going to be a little easier. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil before I go ahead and go any further. Just because it'll be easiest now instead of having it swinging around on a hoist. So we can go ahead and check the condition of the oil. It's been in there for about a year, but I've probably put only like 1,000 miles on it, so it shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, so I think that's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and work on some of this stuff and jack the car up, and then we'll check in later. Alright guys, so I don't quite remember where I left off, but I went ahead and removed my downpipe and a good chunk of my exhaust. And then I went ahead and worked on the power steering over here. Let's see, so there is a nut on top right here. This is a banjo bolt. I used a 15/16 inch socket to get that off. It's really close, but I believe, it's probably like a 24 millimeter or something. And then there's a hose, kind of hard to see. It goes from the bottom of the reservoir right there down and around to feed the pump. And then this is the high pressure line right here. So I went ahead and undid that. It just leaked a bunch of stuff everywhere. Pro tip, use some aluminum foil to kind of guide your spillage into a catch bucket. So that's pretty good. I went ahead and disconnected the fuel. This line here is disconnected from this right here. And then the other side is disconnected from the actual rail. And then the line is going to be staying with the car. Clutch master cylinder. Or this is the slave cylinder, sorry. I'm going to have to unwrap it through all this stuff here, but it's going to stay with the car as well. I just pulled it up here. And then I think the only things we have left are, of course, the mounts. And then these coolant lines, actually. I've totally forgot about these before, but these are for your heater core right here. So one of them is in, one of them is out, to get heat onto the inside of the cabin. And I do have new lines for these, so I don't really care too much about the old hoses. But we're going to go ahead and pull them off. This one is going to be easy to get right there, and then the other one is kind of hard to see. It's down over there. It's going to be a little bit of a pain to get to, so we'll see what we do. I might just cut the hose actually with a blade or something, just to make it easier. That hose right there. So that's about it for now. I'm going to go ahead and, of course, disconnect all that coolant. Spill a bunch of stuff everywhere as always, and then I think we're really close to pulling this motor out. Alright guys, as you can see we have the engine hoist hooked up, and the engine is actually a little bit up, as you can see. Let me go ahead and run you through everything. So we got the power steering off. It was a little leaky, but not too bad. I had a power cable here running for my alternator just because I had a higher amperage alternator. But I forgot there are still a few cables plugged into there that are connected to the body harness. So I'm going to go ahead and have to undo those just to get them clear. I don't think there was anything else on this side here. I went ahead and got one of these coolant hoses off. I cut the other one. Nothing too big. And then, of course, I undid the shifter on the inside. Open this up here. So I went ahead and took the shifter out, and it's obviously right there, looking pretty good. And then I actually lowered the car back down. It's still on jack stands, but it's just lower so that I had more room to operate with the hoist here. And now the issue that I'm running to is I'm pretty sure the oil pan is hitting the cross member, or more specifically the steering rack. So I'm pretty sure either I'm going to have to drop the cross member, or like the ideal way would be to angle the engine and transmission upwards so they could kind of slip by it. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. I don't have a lot of adjustability, even though I have one of these adjustment pieces here. I don't know if I'm able be able to make it tilt forward enough to do that. So I think I might end up having to lower the cross member, or just the steering rack on its own. I went ahead and removed some, like that heat shield that was right here, just to make a little bit more room. There really is not tons of room in here to do much work, but it is happening. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and do some work on that cross member, see what I can kind of figure out, and then hopefully we can get this pulled. It is really close. I might have to remove the hood though. There's really just not a lot of room here to go up anymore, and you can see we have to we have to go up quite a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and figure out where to go from here, and I'll let you guys know what happens. Alright guys, hopefully you can see this all right. It is a bit bright out here, but you can see we've got a lot of progress going on. I removed the hood, and I saw rusty hinge brackets right there, but I just wanted to go ahead and make a quick note and visually show you guys, if I were to do this again, I would go ahead and split the transmission and the engine. There is just not enough room here in order to get both of them out. You can see, you know, I've got, we'll say this is maybe 4 or 5 inches, and then maybe 4 or 5 inches on top of there. But this has to come up, you know, another 5 or 6 inches, and you know, we're right at the front there. So it's gonna be a lot of work getting this thing out. If I were to do it again, you know, I would split it in two, just put a jack stand or a wood block or something under the front of the bell housing, that way, and then leave the transmission mount connected. That way it's got front and rear support, and then just go ahead and crack the engine forward. It should have enough space to clear the cross member on its own, and then you should literally just be able to pull it straight up. You shouldn't have any issues, but I've already kind of committed to this, so I'm going to have to make this work. Because I don't think I could get this kind of back into a good position to where I would be able to mount everything again. With the transmission, you know, I'd be scared of it rolling over and falling or something. So I think I'm going to have to make this work. I might end up dropping it back down a little bit and then trying to remove the front harmonic balancer, just to give me a few more inches of clearance on the front there. I might be able to remove the alternator as well if I need some clearance, but I don't know if that's going to be in the way or not. Obviously that radiator hose right there should have been undone, but I don't really care about it. I'm going to be replacing that anyway, so I don't care that it's getting crushed. It's just kind of in the way, but it shouldn't be too much more of an issue. So yeah, you know, I'm gonna fiddle with this. We're gonna get it out, but if I were to do this again, I would split them in two, just because it would make things a lot easier. Transmission typically has to go out from below the car, so you kind of have to get up on some jack stands. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world, especially when you're talking about pulling the entire engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to finagle this out of here, and we'll see how it goes. Alright guys, as you can see, we're almost there. I wanted to stop and take a break and just to revel in this absolute chaos that is pulling this engine. You can see we still probably have another 6 inches or so at the minimum to go on the end of the housing there, the tail shaft, and right up against the bottom of that pan right there. So this is going to be getting pretty close. Changing this leveler has helped an absolute ton. I don't think I would have been able to get out here without this leveler. So if you really, really want to try pulling the engine transmission as one, you're going to need a leveler for sure. I'm probably going to go ahead and end up maxing that out just to get us enough angle to clear both the tail housing and the oil pump right here. And then hopefully my hoist has enough height to get this out of here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pull the other tire off of this car and then lower it down as far as I possibly can get it, just to kind of get us enough height. So I wanted to show you guys just this middle process here. Look at that nice spoolie boy right there. You can never see him on the regular car. I did go ahead and take off the harmonic balancer pulleys. Obviously this part's still here. but I really needed that to kind of get clear of right there. And then you can see you got plenty of visibility. There's no cables or anything holding us back. So fingers crossed, let's go ahead and get this pulled. Alright guys, as you can see, the engine and transmission are out. It did take quite a bit of effort, but honestly, it wasn't too bad. I would definitely split them if I were to do this again, but again, it wasn't too bad. So you can see the big old spoolie boy down there looking nice and shiny. That's going to be moved up here, so you're going to be able to see it nice front and center. We're going to go ahead and split the engine and transmission now so that we can get these, get the transmission sent off to be inspected. If you guys don't know, it's still making some weird noises even though this is technically a brand new transmission. So I'm going to go ahead and see if there's like a tolerance or something that I'm missing, because when I pulled the fluid for it, it was pretty glittery and we really don't want to ruin this any more than it already is. So let's go and hop over here real quick. And as you can see, even with the engine out, it is just full of stuff. You know, there is just plenty of hoses and wiring and stuff, and I really want to go ahead and shave this down as best as I can. I really don't know too much about the wiring harnesses that are in here, but I know that they're pretty much the only things left are headlights, turn signals, and horn. I think that's pretty much it. The alternator wiring is in here, but really there's honestly not that much in here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and shave it down if I can. Just to make things a little simpler. But the first step is going to be pulling pretty much everything out so that I can go ahead and repaint this, because as you can see, you know, it's pretty dingy and it just does not look great anymore. So I'm super excited, guys. Thank you for watching if you got all the way this far. This is going to be a very big project. It's going to take a couple months, but I am super excited to finally get this car exactly where I want it to be. So if you have any questions or anything, definitely drop a comment down below, and I'll see you guys later.